Welcome back, everybody, to the Birdies and Bourbon Show. We are excited to have Chad from ASW Distilleries.
What's up, guys?
Hey, Chad, so I got a question.
I've got answers.
That's what we're looking for. Number one, I'd like to say thanks so much for inviting me up to the distillery the other day. What a fantastic location you got. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. You're going to talk more about it, I'm sure. But I was noticing you're the chief acorn officer. So we're going to get into that. But before we get into, we're going to do some tasting today with Chad from ASW, and we're going to go. Let me check that. So we're going to have Unison, Resurgens Rye, Duality, Heartwood. And then there's an unreleased barrel. So if you were watching on Instagram, you saw Chad pull that out the other day. So I'm going to go ahead and pour a little sip of Unison and allow you to get into this Chief Acorn Officer, if you don't mind.
Yeah, Cal, that's a pretty nice bar behind you. Is that full of is that full of sweet tea? Is that just mock bottles?
No. That's so I don't know if you use Zoom a lot, but with the Zoom you can pick a background you can go and pick. And oddly, so here's the weird thing. I mean, so I wouldn't say we have a lot of people on the show, but we have a decent amount of people on, and everybody's like, "Damn it, I've been looking for that bar in like the background images, and I can't find it. Where's it?" I'm like, you got to go all the way to the end, and then there's a pay section. It is not in the free one.
It's a pay section.
and if you hit the pay section, you're going to find it. And it is. I've been to better bars, but I'll tell you what, it's hard to beat that one. But you know what? Not getting ahead of myself. Haven't tried it yet. It could be a lie, but I did.
Definitely looks like a lie.
I didn't have any ASW.
It won't be his first, Chad.
I didn't have any ASW on the bar. And just for folks that are listening, so I'll share with you, Chad, before we get started. So I did a poll on Instagram, and for our followers. By the way, Chad, Dan, Chad.
Hey, Dan.
Sure. Hey, buddy. How you doing?
Yeah, we don't let Dan out in public, so that's the reason he didn't make it. Just kidding. Dan lives in Raleigh, so we're doing this remotely. We're all doing social distancing. We made him go to Raleigh. So
exactly.
I did
6 feet apart.
He usually makes me wear a mask on this thing.
But I didn't have any ASW at the bar, and after tasting it, I'm like, I don't know why in the hell I didn't and don't. Well, I do now, but that's going to be a staple at the bar. It's a damn nice bottle. So, so without further ado, we're tasting the Unison right now, and we'll go through some tasting notes. But I want to hear about this CAO.
It's a new title. It's a very millennial title. You just have to interact with more millennials, and you'll come across it. It is actually it's marketing speak for marketing, right? So acorns, right? They grow into oak trees, which turn into barrels, which age whiskey. So being a chief acorn officer just means sort of spreading the seeds of good whiskey wherever I go.
Wow. There you go.
So it takes like 3 lines to connect the dots to that, but it actually arose because for Halloween we always do probably not this year, but for the last 4 years running, we have done a pretty kick-ass Halloween party at the distillery, and we have a costume party. And my costume a couple of years ago was dressing up as a squirrel. I got a full-on, I guess, like head to toe costume it came with like 2 acorns that you could Velcro to you. So I was a squirrel, and our master distiller was a mountain man. He brought his front loading musket. And so I was running from him all night.
Nice.
So hence the reason the CAO is on the show tonight. I mean, that's right. That actually couldn't have been a better story. Let's just say this is damn good whiskey, and we'll kill this now because I don't know if it gets any better.
Well, hold on, Cal. I am in Raleigh, which is the city of Oaks. So there you go.
I did not know that.
Yep.
Y'all are. That's funny. Atlanta claims to be the city of trees, so y'all have gotten a little more specific.
Yeah, we actually for New Year's the acorn drops. Yep.
That's awesome.
I mean, we've really made a connect. Like you said, it's like the three parallels. I mean, something's happening here, man. This could be magic. I'm expecting, that's too strong of a word. I'm anticipating the arrival of my Halloween invitation when the next time we're able to do that.
I was about to say, I fully expect Kevin Bacon to materialize behind you.
That could happen. That could happen.
Sure enough. Yeah, you just need another backdrop.
That's right. That's right.
You got to scroll farther to the right, and it costs more money. He'll be in a minute. Don't worry. He'll be in.
Excellent.
So we could do this multiple ways, Chad, but so we're drinking Unison. The one thing, and to be honest, and I'm a little bit embarrassed, so the one reason that we did reach out to you and that we wanted to have you on the show, so I'm in Atlanta, just down the street from you. I'm in Grant Park, and Dan's in Raleigh, but he spent a lot of time at my house in Atlanta for I don't know why. I try not to let him in too much, but it happens.
Sure.
And but so we said, hey, we should actually start connecting with some of the local distilleries and spreading the word, right? I mean, it's birdies and bourbon, and oddly enough, so I don't know if you can see on this side, you probably can't, which you shouldn't for the ASW Georgia Heartwood, but I've got a lot of weeded bourbons back there. Some of the popular names, if you just you'll know the name if you think about it. So. And I was actually on some other folks' social media page the other night. They do a Sunday night fight, and they had a couple of weeded bourbons paired, and one of them was Weller Special Reserve, and the other was Maker's Mark, because they're they should be equal, in price, even though most of the time they're not. But I'm telling you, for a weeded bourbon, this is damn good, and it is. I was telling Dan, I was sampling this before, and but the Unison in itself, I mean, like I would put this up against Weller Green Label any day of the week, and it wins.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. So you've got Unison in your glass right now. Is that what you said?
I have Unison in the glass. Yes. Yeah. I should do this. That way we can get
so, and then I've got the bottles right here. So,
awesome. I guess
before we go through the drams you've got, we'll do, I'll give you a quick background. I know we didn't get to cover everything while you're over there, but basically we got our start, about 9 years ago at this point. And so the very first part of this story predates me. So I'm conveying it to you as it has been relayed to me, down through the ages, right?
Take it as a fact.
That's right. That's right. So our founders were Jim Chastain and Charlie Thompson, who had been roommates in college. And a few years after they graduated, they realized they had a pretty inordinate thirst for whiskey that a lot of folks didn't necessarily share to that degree. So they decided to try to make some of their own. And so they came up with a recipe that for a clear whiskey. The challenge with whiskey is you either have to start with something that gets cash flow coming in the door immediately, or you have to have a boatload of money to be able to let whiskey just sit in barrels for a few years. So they opted for the former, decided to go with a clear whiskey that, all whiskey has to spend a little bit of time in a barrel, but with this particular class of whiskey, it was called a spirit whiskey. It was very minimal time in a barrel, less than a week. And it was actually pretty similar to a vodka. So they partnered with a facility in Charleston to make this first product. That was called American Spirit Whiskey. And that kind of started to get a little bit of a following here in our home state of Georgia. And with the popularity of that spirit, it gave Jim and Charlie the confidence to actually, go big rather than going home. And so this would be about 5.5 years ago at this point. They ended up meeting our master distiller, Justin Manglitz. Funny enough, through Jim's sister, who had been good friends with Justin in high school, Jim's sister said, I've got someone you really might want to consider. And they kind of rolled their eyes thinking, this is going to be some dude who's been teaching himself, in his bathtub or something.
Right.
Turns out Justin, our distiller, had been the homebrew. There was a homebrew supply store in downtown Athens. He was the owner of that for close to a decade. And that afforded him access to ingredients and just lots of time to really refine his craft. So by the time that they met with him, he had 15 years of experience in, basically making craft booze in the industry. And he was self-taught. So that allowed him to kind of bring sort of a fresh new set of eyes to everything. So, he had the experience where we weren't going to have to throw away batches, and he had recipes dialed in, but he also wasn't an apprentice for, one of the big bourbon distilleries or one of the big single malt Scotch distilleries. So he kind of combined both those methods. So right around the time he joined, this was 5.5 years ago, I joined as well. And then the four of us went to our 75 best friends, and we were like, you may be invested in stocks, maybe bonds, some real estate, but have you ever considered investing in a company with a high likelihood of failure? And they kind of scratched their heads and they were like, it hadn't really crossed our minds. And so we gave them that opportunity. And fortunately, thanks to them early on and the support of folks like yourselves and the whole Atlanta and state of Georgia community, we are way past the danger zone. And as we will talk about, we've got a number of different whiskeys hitting pretty much all different classes of whiskey to our name. And that is a testament largely to Justin, our master distiller. He combined a double copper pot still setup like you'd find in Scotland making single malt Scotch.
Yep.
He combined that with the southern innovation of grain-in distillation, right? So you go to Kentucky, you go to Tennessee, you're finding distilleries are going to leave their grain solids in from mashing on into the fermentation part all the way into the stills, right? And we'll touch on distillation a little bit more, but that is uncommon. You do not find those grain solids staying in the whole process all the way to the stills really anywhere but the South. So he combined that grain-in method from the South with that pot still method from Scotch making, and it ended up producing some really, really fine juice. And so that has kind of really sets us apart. I think just a lot of our spirits are really kind of have this really awesome texture, really robust, somewhat almost like chewy at some points, particularly with Duality Double Malt. So as we get more into those, we can talk about the texture, the mouthfeel. But that's kind of the Reader's Digest version of how we got to where we are today.
Well, hopefully this isn't the last time we get to do this. So we hopefully there's like a deeper dive to some of these, in future shows, if you will. So we'd love to do that. So well, where do you want to take us first?
Yeah, I'd say let's start with what's in your glass. I'll make it easy on you. Fiddler Unison, which I kind of already flashed the bottle of earlier. Fiddler is our bourbon line. All right. So the original concept behind Fiddler was we wanted one brand that allows us to showcase cool things happening across the country that we then bring in-house and fiddle with. So we spent about 2 years. Yeah.
Like that.
I like that you laughed at that pun. Usually it takes 3 or 4 drinks before people start laughing at puns. So this was kind of a later in the evening name that we came up with. Right. So the original one, Fiddler, that we released, we spent about 2 years looking for a unique bourbon. We found one that was 51% corn, 45% wheat, which is just crazy high wheat content, right? So you talked about Weller, you talked about Maker's Mark earlier. They sit around the 20% wheat content mark, right? So that's what caught our eye about this original bourbon that was from MGP. So it turns out it had originally been an overrun that another distillery had not been able to take down the full run of. So we took down the other half of it. And we, the way we fiddled with it early on was we double barreled it. We took it from that original new charred oak barrel and we put it into another new charred oak barrel. And that was the original installation of Fiddler 4 years ago. That had a blue label. You won't find it anymore. The label was kind of homespun looking because we kind of got our sea legs under us as we continued on down the path.
Well, as I mentioned the other day, I mean, your labels, I mean, it's, and I'm I wouldn't say a label whore necessarily, but it's like, you can have some really good juice and you can have just a shitty label. And it's like, I'll pass on that bottle. And you don't ever get a chance to explore it, which again, I mean, I think your bottles stand out on the shelf. So sorry, didn't mean to interrupt, but I love the labels, man.
No, that is a great point. Our CEO, Jim, one of the founders, he likes to brag on the fact that we really don't all of our labels are done in-house. The only thing that we have done outside of our distillery's team is the Resurgens rye label is a Phoenix that a really kick-ass artist out of Athens, Georgia, named David Hale, drew for or illustrated for us. He is he's done illustrations for the Avett Brothers and for Creature Comforts beer out of Athens. So yeah, he's pretty well known.
Yeah.
But yeah, we keep it all in house, and Fiddler is one of those. So the Fiddler that you've got in your glass there is the flagship form of Fiddler. So that first version we put double barrel, then we had another version. Ultimately, we settled on this version that you're drinking. And that is a marriage of that high wheat bourbon with the 45% wheat with our high malt bourbon that we distill on our copper pot stills here just across the street from Sweetwater Brewery here in Atlanta. So the label for that one is Burgundy. So I'll hold these up side by side.
And hold on. So are they both Unison, or what's the Burgundy one?
This one is called Fiddler Soloist. And this is, I didn't have any at the time that you came and picked some up to sample. We just bottled it last week. But this is the first straight bourbon ever distilled in the city of Atlanta.
Oh, awesome.
We actually thought it was probably the first one since Prohibition. The way we learned that it was the first straight bourbon ever distilled in Atlanta is kind of funny. Georgia, in its infinite wisdom, decided to implement Prohibition 13 years before federal Prohibition.
Wow.
So Georgia implemented statewide Prohibition in 1907. Turns out the term straight bourbon didn't become a thing. It wasn't even a concept until 1909. So there was never a straight bourbon that was actually distilled in the city limits of Atlanta until we released this one, Fiddler Soloist, that is on our pot stills.
Very cool.
So then the last one that we're also going to be talking about later on, but just to have them all three together, is Fiddler Georgia Heartwood. So you basically got, this is 100%, 45% wheat bourbon. Sorry, that was like the Anchorman quote.
Hey, 45% of the time I get it right 100% of the time.
Exactly.
Hey, Chad, do not let Cal do the math. Okay, it's not going to go good.
So it's basically, this is the forage bourbon that we finish on Georgia oak we harvested. We'll talk more about that. This is a marriage of that one we just talked about, the forage bourbon, and our in-house bourbon. And then this is 100% in-house. So that's kind of how our Fiddler bourbon lineup is stacked up. You got pretty much the full spectrum of things you could do. Most bourbon is distilled on column stills. So you're getting a column still bourbon with this one. You're getting a pot still bourbon with our Soloist. You're getting a marriage of the two with Fiddler Unison. So I know that was a little long-winded. That'll be the
No.
We have to go.
No, we're good, man. Yeah, no, we love it. That's, and again, that's, sorry we were late. I mean, we were long-winded on a golf show, which you may not want to listen to. So, that's the way it goes, man. And I mean, those are the details that we're looking for. So, so I got some samples and I got some proofs. Well, I'll hand it back to you. I don't have any questions right now. Are you sipping with us?
I have a big wedding weekend coming up, so I'm keeping.
They said don't do it, right? Just kidding. No,
he's saying he's going to need it.
Just kidding. All right.
What do you think? You said you liked the Unison. Now, Dan, are you also sipping with us?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I shared some samples with Dan. So again, it's like heavy wheat, and I didn't see a proof point on the Unison.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't write that on the bottle for you. Unison is 90 proof, 45% alcohol by volume.
Yeah. I was pretty close, Cal.
What'd y'all guess?
Right around like 85, 90. Yep.
Yeah. What's interesting is. Y'all are familiar with the chill filtration concept, right?
Yeah, but aren't these non-chill?
That's right. So what I was going to say is, I don't know if it's if there's still so much of a debate, but a few years ago there were folks who swore by chill filtered whiskey, and then you had the opposite camp. And it turns out if you do not chill filter your whiskey, you have to bottle it at usually around 43 to 45% or higher.
Yeah.
86 to 90 proof or higher, because what you'll see is when it gets down to about 60 degrees or lower, if it's not chill filtered and it's sitting at 80 proof, you'll start to see it'll start to get cloudy.
Like some sediment, pretty much.
It looks kind of like sediment.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's like in a wine, you would see you'd start to see stuff floating around in there, right? So yeah.
Yep, same concept, and that's because whiskey actually has a lot of its flavor comes from proteins and lipids or fatty acids, basically. And so, as just like when your steak cools down and the fat kind of congeals on it, right? Same thing is happening in that whiskey when it's getting cold. Is if it's below a certain proof, you have these lipids that are starting to clump together. Mm-hmm. So when you're chill filtering something, one of the reasons chill filtered whiskeys, to my preference, don't taste as rich, is because you're taking that whiskey, you're cooling it way down, and then you're straining out some of those lipids. So
you're diluting all the taste.
Yeah, you're getting less taste in there.
Yeah. So to your point, and Dan, I don't know what you're getting out of this thing. Well, first off, and I don't know. One, I'm surprised. I shouldn't say surprised, but a lot of people don't like to talk about their whiskey being sourced, right? I mean, it's all a family secret, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I mean, it's fine. But, I'm happy to see that you're not afraid to say, that we're getting some stuff from MGP. I don't know that Unison is necessarily. I think is this all in-house or is this still sourced?
The Georgia Heartwood we'll try later on is 100% MGP that we finish on the Georgia oak.
Okay. And what about the Unison?
The Unison is a marriage of the two, the MGP and our in-house, and then the Soloist is 100% in-house. Yeah. And then everything else we're talking about tonight and everything else we make is 100% in-house.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Which, I mean, I don't think if you're making good shit, just because you're taking something that somebody else cooked up and you're putting it together and it turns into great juice. I mean, like, no kidding, man. Like, I would take this over a green label any day. I mean, this is then what you're talking about with the kind of I'm going to say the word tannins, but with the fats and it's kind of oily. I mean, it's got a great mouth coat, and this is not going to be the best. I shouldn't say the best. There are different ones in the lot that we have. And I mean, this is fantastic, man. And what's it retail for? $35 a bottle, give or take, baby?
$34.99. You got it.
Yeah. I mean, this is fantastic. It's what's the rye content on this one?
0 rye. So
really?
Let me take that back. It's, you've got your 51% corn, 45% wheat, 4% malted barley. That is the MGP portion of it. And then the in-house portion is 56 corn and then 44% various malts, one of which is malted rye. Yeah. So in terms of its rye, it's probably sitting at around 6% rye content in there.
That's crazy. I'm getting some, because I'm definitely getting like some spearminty kind of, I don't know, maybe it's just my nose and I'm looking for it, but I'm getting like some minty, if I were drinking like not a high proof rye, but if I were drinking a medium proof rye, I mean, I would say this is kind of what I would get. I mean, I'm getting some rye notes in here, but it's low proof or low count in rye.
I get spearmint, I get a little raisin, a little black cherry.
Yep, absolutely. And particularly that mint content lends itself very well to a lovely May sipper, the mint julep.
Nice. Yeah, good play. Yeah. Good play. Yeah. All right. Well, we can't drink all night if we don't keep drinking. So
exactly.
While we're pouring, we're going to pour Resurgens rye. I think that was the next best thing. Yeah, go ahead. Awesome. Go ahead, bud.
Yeah. So with Resurgens, back when we were kind of forming this idea to build out, our whiskey distillery right in the heart of Atlanta, we really liked rye. I mean, bourbon was experiencing a real resurgence, and rye was to a lesser degree. But the first thing that we really asked Justin if he had a recipe in mind, was for a rye, and he said, "Yeah. Not only do I have a recipe, it's a really unique one. So most ryes that y'all are familiar with are just cousins of bourbon, right?
Yeah.
So bourbon has to be at least 51% corn." And then usually, except with the occasional wheated bourbon, usually that second grain is rye, right? Rye just kind of flips that recipe requirement and says it has to be 51% or more rye. And in a lot of cases, your second ingredient is corn. So it's just a cousin of bourbon, right? The really unique thing about Resurgens is this is actually an old Appalachian style rye that the Old Pogue Distillery developed way before Prohibition. So Old Pogue has since been revived, but for years it was mothballed. And before it was mothballed, they came out with a 100% malted rye what is called a rye malt whiskey, but it drinks a lot like a rye. So Resurgens rye, we distill from 100% malted rye on our copper pot stills. And what you're doing when you're malting a grain is all right. So you imagine your field of rye in somewhere in North Georgia, right?
Yep.
When you harvest that grain, you can do one of two things. You can immediately throw that grain in your mash cooker and start cooking it down to distill with it. That's what almost all ryes on the market do. The other thing you can do is you can take that rye grain, you can moisten it, and it sprouts, kind of like your 5th grade lima bean experiment, right? And that sprouting process is known as malting. So all of single malts are made by virtue of this malting process. They just do it with barley. So this one, it takes that rye grain, it sprouts it by moistening it. And what that does, that malting process, is it's concentrating the sugars in that grain. And ultimately they stop that growing, that germination process by drying it out with a kiln. And so it's concentrating the sugars, like I mentioned, but it also, because we use some chocolate malted rye, which just means it's roasted longer, kind of like when you roast coffee beans longer, they get a little a little richer or whatever. Same thing is going on here. It's got kind of almost like a roasty, like graham cracker quality to it. A little bit of chocolate in there as well that I really love. And Resurgens really put us on the map for craft distilling, because Fiddler Unison was the first spirit we released. Resurgens was the next up. And by virtue of it just being so unique for a rye, it really captivated Atlanta.
Yeah,
that nose. I could do that nose all day long. That's fantastic.
Know, right?
Yeah. So I don't know if actually I don't even know. I know Dan has never done this, but I don't know, Chad, if you've ever been on a farm where you've cut fresh alfalfa hay.
Yeah,
and it's a particular, right? It's not fescue, it's not Kentucky Blue, like it's alfalfa, and I get like fresh cut alfalfa on the nose on this one. So I almost went to kind of. So you were kind of leading me down a road of like a mushroomy kind of, I'm going to say musty, which if you're a drinker, musty is not bad. If you're drinking rye whiskeys, I mean, that's actually a good note. Yeah. And I was going musty, and I'm getting kind of that, once the hay's laying there to cure before you bale it, I'm kind of getting that alfalfa, it's not mildewy, it's not moldy, and you got to turn it before it does do that. But yeah, I'm getting, definitely getting like, so we didn't get a chance to lean over, any vats there, but if you've kind of if you've been on a distillery tour and you've leaned over the mash vat when it's kind of fermenting in the process, I mean, that's what I'm getting a lot of that, it's kind of fresh and young.
Yep.
But just on the nose, but it's not fresh and young on the palate for sure.
Yeah. Some people say it reminds them of freshly baked bread.
Rye bread for sure, yeah.
Yep. To me, I also get some honey notes on the nose.
Yeah, there's something. I want to revisit this one because there's something. It's there's something I can't find on the nose. I'll tell you what. To be honest, what I'm getting in my mind is I almost smell moonshine on the nose. I mean, I've got a bottle of moonshine and I can smell it and I got to pull back from it immediately, but I get like a hint of moonshine on the back end, but the good sweet part of the moonshine, not the bitter like alcohol part.
It's not the moonshine you're getting. It's just the fruitier notes and that citrusy kind of notes, right? That's what you're talking about. I mean, you can get that with moonshine because that kind of thing, but that's what you're getting is those lighter notes or whatnot, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, that's
a good nose. It's a great nose.
Yeah, I could just sit around and sniff for a while.
This is good with s'mores. You should do s'mores.
Every once in a while on the nose, it's going to sound weird, but every once in a while on the nose, I get like apricot.
Yep.
No, yeah. Okay, so that's my moonshine nose that I'm getting. It's like and when I say moonshine, people are going to be like, oh, moonshine, but it's not the alcohol part of moonshine. It's actually the part of the moonshine that's kind of sweet, but it's also a little bit bitter, if that's I don't know if bitter's the right word. It's not bitter, but it's bittersweet kind of. Yeah,
a little chocolatey for sure.
Yep, very good.
Yeah, it's tasty, man.
That's a good one right there, man. Yep.
I bet that makes I mean, I could think of a few cocktails, but I don't even know why I need to make a cocktail with that.
It makes a kick-ass Manhattan. I'm very partial to Manhattans. Yeah, 2 parts of Resurgens, 1 part Dolan Rouge. Throw some orange Angostura bitters in there and garnish it with a lemon peel. I'll drink that every day.
I heard, a campfire with s'mores, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I heard our next one is cocktail hour with ASW and Chad. So there you
go. That's right.
Well, that's fantastic. So hold on, let us take a breather for a second. We don't want to keep you all night, but for the folks that are listening. So, sorry, just getting a sip of water so I can somewhat enunciate my words in my best Tennessee accent. I know, and all these guys are UGA guys, and I'm a Tennessee fan. I don't know how it's going to go. I didn't bring that up. Let's keep it quiet. So where I was going with this was
you're a Kisner fan. You're a Pat Reed fan.
Well, I am definitely a Pat Reed fan. So yeah, Chad, are you a golfer at all?
How do you stomach that orange that they made you wear up there? That's all.
Oh. I wasn't smart enough, or I didn't have good enough grades to go to school there. I just grew up in East Tennessee, and trust me, in the hills of Tennessee, there's nothing else on TV. I mean, that's all you get. So you just you learn to be a fan. You don't have to be a fan. You just learn to be a fan. So there you go.
What part of East Tennessee?
So I'm from Greene County. The closest town. So Tri-Cities ish. Yeah, I don't know. Johnson City, you familiar?
Yeah.
So that area. Yeah.
Cool, man.
It's a great place to grow up and a good place to be from.
Yep.
And a great place to go back and visit. So most of my family's still there. Yeah. So it's it's awesome up there. It's a good spot.
I was up there a couple of years ago. Went to a great barbecue restaurant in Kingsport. I forget the name of it, but Kingsport had a cool little thing going on. And what's that brewery there? Yeehaw. Is that it?
Oh, Yeehaw. Yeah. That place is, we're trying to get those guys on the show. Yeehaw. We stopped by a few more places, so we're connecting with some people from my hometown. So again, I live in Atlanta. I'm trying to reach out to Atlanta folks like yourself, to promote. And, likewise, I'm originally from there. So we're connecting with some folks up there. So,
that's great.
The sugar lands and all that stuff. So just too much of the moonshine stuff. Like I had to drink that as a kid growing up, and it doesn't sit well with me anymore.
It'll give you heartburn.
People are like, oh, I can't drink tequila, and I'm like, I can't drink moonshine. It's like I can, and I always keep a bottle around, but it's like, whoo, that stuff's rough. So back to ASW though. I came into your place. I talked a little about it when we just started. But you guys have got an awesome tasting room, and number two, I mean, I'm like, bullshit. They've got an Airstream sitting back here, and so you're probably like, why is that guy driving? He can't get out that way. Why is he driving around? So I had to check out the Airstream. I'm assuming you take that to it's like a show thing where you go do tastings and stuff, or what's the Airstream for?
We wish that would be really, really cool. We are unfortunately not allowed to serve anywhere
because it's booze.
So we actually do open it up for private events, and on big event days we can serve out of that over there in our parking lot.
Cool.
So it becomes an auxiliary bar, particularly. Cool. Actually, we're getting right into the time of year when it's perfect because we got, as you saw, we have that fire pit over there.
Yeah.
So people will just sit back and just order from that Airstream bar and sit around the fire.
Very and you got that? Was that an International Scout setting out front?
Sure was.
Yeah, I'm assuming it run well. But here's the thing: I didn't see any logos on it or labels. You'd taken all of them off. It looked like, unless I missed them.
I think we got one right on the door.
Okay, well, but again, I mean, I looked at it and I'm like, because most people would look at that and they'd be like, "Oh, that's an old Bronco," and I'm like, "No, that's a Scout for sure, right?" So and I'm assuming it's is it moving around?
Yeah, it runs well. It
the chief Acorn officer drive. That's his company vehicle.
It doesn't get good enough gas mileage to really take it outside of a 5-mile radius, but it's we took it up to a festival last fall, actually almost exactly a year ago. Really kick-ass festival just outside of Athens.
Which one was it?
Why am I blanking on the name of it? It had like Shovels and Rope came through.
Okay, awesome.
So we took it up there. It was a big field party, effectively.
Yeah, nice.
Right over the line in Oglethorpe County.
Well, we're in Atlanta. We're lucky. We've got a good hero squad that'll help you out on the side of the road. It's just,
exactly.
but I don't know what they're going to do with a Scout, man. They may pull at me like, shit, should I call you a tow truck? I don't know how to do that.
Yeah,
I don't know how to do that. Yeah, but your tasting room is awesome. And I don't know, this may be as good a time as any if you want to kind of plug your tasting room and what your hours are. I mean, I know COVID, I'm sure. Did you guys get into the hand sanitizer business at all?
Yeah, that was a real boon for about 3 months. We ended up partnering initially with Cox Communications here in Atlanta, and they basically commissioned, I don't know how much, but thousands of, I can't remember the exact number, but thousands of gallons worth of hand sanitizer. And then we ended up partnering with other local companies like Jamestown, Ponce City Market, there. They bought quite a bit. And then what that allowed us to do is it allowed us to give over 1,000 gallons away as well to first responders and local hospitals and schools and whatnot. So, 1,000 gallons sounds, cool, but when you actually put it in context, that is about 60,000 Purell bottles worth of that we were able to donate. So that was really, really cool. And it was, we always talk about how tight knit the community is in Atlanta. And that was just case in point right there. We were trying to do the neighborly thing and help out. And we had corporate sponsors who were helping us out, which allowed us to be able to then donate a lot. So, that for 3 months, our tasting room was completely requisitioned. If you'd come 2 months ago, it would have looked like a war zone almost, just because we had plastic bottles everywhere with the hand sanitizer and labels like on people's faces and stuff. But we have since moved. That's been scaled down since other companies kind of scaled up and met the demand. So that the rest of the hand sanitizer operation is in a little corner, sort of in the back area. And now we have just recently reintroduced tours and tastings by reservation only on Saturdays. Mm-hmm. So prior to the pandemic up to March, we were every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Now we're just doing Saturdays, and we do a 1:00 slot and a 3:30 slot. And we have, as Cal, as you saw, we have about 3 big tables that groups can sort of sit at. We've also got a front porch that people can just come and have a drink outdoors. And then we're doing 2 tours per Saturday right now, on the pretty much on the half hour at I guess it would be at 1:30 and 4.
It's on their website, aswdistillery.com. Cool. I mean, check them out. I guess aswdistillery.com, right?
Yep, you got it.
And then you're at ASW Distillery on Instagram. I don't think there's any underscores or anything.
Correct. Yeah, it's ASW Distillery on all on all forms of social media except for MySpace.
Yeah. Wait a minute. You're still using my. Whoa, that's for the next show. We can't talk about that on this. But a awesome place. I mean, it's like, I mean, I'd never been there up until last week, and it's a great venue, great space. I want that elk that's sitting over on the left hand side of the bar. Or I don't need that one, but I want one like it, kind of. And I don't want to shoot it. I've got this fake buffalo, and no, I'm not vegan, so it's not fake because of that reason. But
exactly.
All right, man. Let's. So here's I don't know if this is it's not the one I'm most excited to get into, but I want to get into this double malt.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So Duality has been a big success with bourbon drinkers, we have found. And you might not at first think that. So one of the things that we were trying to do with craft distilling is we took a look at kind of what had worked and, maybe what didn't work quite as much over the years with breweries and wineries. And so one of the things that we really loved with what wineries do is kind of branding everything separately. So like one winery will have labels of maybe like a Zinfandel and a Cabernet Sauvignon that you don't even realize are related. So we took the same approach with our branding. So all of our brands are cousins, not siblings, as we like to say. So, you saw Fiddler Bourbon, we already touched on. Resurgens Rye has totally different artwork. Duality Double Malt. The concept with Duality is we realized, when we realized we couldn't out bourbon Kentucky, right? There are a bunch of distilleries in Kentucky doing really kick-ass bourbon. So we knew we needed to have bourbon, it being such a big category of whiskey here in the South. But we also wanted to do some experiments and just see what sticks. So Duality was an experiment gone right. So Justin took 50% malted rye. And remember, Resurgens is 100% malted rye. So he took half of Resurgens, basically, and then took 50% malted, cherry smoked malted barley, kind of like a single malt, and he distilled them together, mashed, fermented, distilled them together. And as far as we know, it is the world's first double malt. So, in the sense that we're taking two different types of malt and distilling them together. And just the way that craft breweries 20 years ago, they didn't try to out lager Budweiser. They started introducing big new flavor profiles, and that's kind of how craft beer took off. We took the same approach with Duality, and so it drinks really uniquely, right? So it starts off like a rye, it has that nice stone fruit, some nice rye spice, but then it finishes with a really, for me, just a delicious kind of almost barbecue-ish smoke character to it. That is. It really hits the spot for me. It is. I drink it every day I'm alive, and
you just told me you were saving up for a wedding,
but I'm going to have some later on. And you also you got to remember we have our daily rations as well at the distillery. Right?
So what you're saying is you've already been drinking, and this is being recorded.
No, it's all good.
So,
so this is heavy. I get a lot of leather on this thing. I mean, I was excited to get it. I mean, I'm thinking I'm kind of getting into a not a peated Scotch, but just in my mind, I'm thinking I'm getting and from the I was reading about you guys, so I already had some interpretations of where we were going to go, and I'm thinking this is going to be a unpeated kind of Scotch whiskey. Is kind of the direction I was going.
Yeah, probably its closest sparring partner would be High West Campfire. Reminds me a little bit of that.
Yeah, perfect.
And it was one of the reasons Duality has been so successful for us is every year we submit products to what some consider to be the most prestigious spirits competition in the U.S., which is San Francisco World Spirits Competition.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
And back in 2018, we submitted Duality amongst a couple other spirits, and Duality ended up winning a double gold medal. So that meant that all 40 judges had awarded it a gold. So like a gold medal winner can be, 21 judges awarded a gold and 19 awarded a silver, and it'll win a gold. To win a double gold, it has to be unanimous golds by all the judges. It was George's first ever double gold medal winning whiskey. So right after that, it started to take off, and it hasn't looked back since then.
Cal, I think this would get Tattersall away from some of his Scotch, man.
I know, I do too, for sure. I mean, this is this is a good, solid. Well, here's the thing: if you're trying to introduce somebody to the whiskey world, I wouldn't say that this is necessarily the way to do it. If you're trying to expand your palate in the whiskey world, I mean, this is a good heavy. I didn't get a proof on this one. Can you share?
Yeah, this one's 88 proof, 44% alcohol by volume.
Really? It drinks. I mean, not in an alcohol punchy way. I'm just saying, like in a mouthfeel and a
hotter.
I'm getting like a lot of cinnamon in my mouth. I mean, this one is like oily and non-chill filtered still, I'm assuming, right?
Everything's non-chill filtered, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, this thing is like if you're a whiskey person, and I don't know, what would you make this in, like a whiskey and soda? I guess you could. I don't know why you would want to dilute it down, but I mean, you absolutely could. I mean, it's thick enough that it holds up and withstands, a cut. So.
Interestingly, in Japan, one of the ways they drink high-end whiskey is in highballs.
Yeah, right.
So I actually experimented with that, and of all of our whiskeys, Duality makes the best highball because it really accentuates not only the smoke characteristic, but there's you mentioned the leather. that comes through. But there's also kind of like this cool cedar and like cranberry aspect to it that really rises.
I would imagine. Once you cut it a little bit, I mean, it probably really busts it and opens. Yeah, I mean, so I hadn't tasted this one, but yeah, I mean, this thing kind of sitting around and some water in it. I mean, I could see it really. So I'm not a good golfer. I play a lot of golf and I don't chew tobacco, but if I did, I would imagine this is what tobacco tastes like on a golf course.
Yep, exactly. This is probably our best cigar pairing whiskey too.
Well, I mean, it's like if you put a nice Fuente, I would pair this with actually a mild cigar, like a Romeo y Juliet, like, something you could do this. I mean, a strong pour with a Hemingway, and I mean, this would just kind of set you free. I mean, this would complement a nice light cigar. Yep. Easy smoke, good smoky whiskey. I mean, this would be perfect, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is you hit that birdie on 18 to win the tournament, and it's hola.
Hey, you need to send. I'll send you Miguel and Hel Jimenez. I'll send you his address if you'll send him a bottle and put one of my stickers in it. Just telling you,
Miguel would love this.
He would love it, and we're trying to get him on the show so bad. Anyway, we've digressed, so I don't want to move. Hold on. So I gotta rinse after that one. That's
a really good one.
I mean, it's good, but it is. I really just smoked. I smoked a great cigar.
Tobacco, for sure.
Yeah, it's. I mean, that would be. So for the people that are listening, and Chad, I hope we're not keeping you too long, but like if you were going to do like an infused bourbon. So I'm into blending things, and I like to blend like different whiskeys and bourbons and things, kind of keep them running. But if you were going to do a bacon infused bourbon or bacon infused whiskey, this would be a fantastic bacon infused whiskey. And you could sweeten it up a little bit. I mean, this would go on pancakes like nobody's business with some maple syrup and bacon. Let it sit for get a small little drum or a small barrel and let that stuff sit. I mean, if you guys coin that and you have a new label, we at least want a bottle pick with a discount. Just
a barrel pick, he means.
I thought you were about to ask for royalties. That seems to be the common refrain when somebody comes up with an idea.
I'm just saying a bottle. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm not even getting greedy.
Well, yeah, we will guarantee you a bottle of that.
There you go.
But it's like a never-ending bottle.
Yeah.
free refills. Yeah.
Right,
Mulligan.
Yeah, all the mulligans we can eat. All right, so we're working our way through these. That double malt, man, that's
really good. That's really good.
All right, so we're saving the best one for. Well, I don't know if we're saving the best one for last, but we're going to go to.
So, Chad, real quick, when you came on board with these guys, which one did you taste first? Was it the first one we tasted, the Unison?
Well, none of this was released. When I came on board, all we had is the clear whiskey that is almost like a substitute for vodka. Okay. Yeah. So part of the reason we have so many products, so we will, by the end of tonight, we will have tasted 5 different products, 2 bourbons, a rye, a double malt, and a single malt. But we also have a heavily peated single malt. We have a quad malt. We have an Irish style whiskey called Druid Hill. Part of the reason we have so many different types of whiskey is because every single person, every single one of the partners has a different preferred type of whiskey.
Sure. Okay.
So like Jim and Charlie really love rye. Charlie's favorite is actually probably Duality these days. Justin, our master distiller, he loves lightly peated single malts and Irish style whiskeys. I personally love lightly and heavily peated single malts. So we really have something not only for everyone in terms of the consumer, but everyone at the distillery as well.
Yeah. I am blown away. It's great, man. Yeah.
I
was wondering what got you hooked, but you're like, hey, you know what? I started working for Uber and they blew up.
Well, I will say this. Justin had a couple bottles of stuff that, who knows where it was distilled, but his single malt back then was the thing that really knocked my socks off. Cool. And that one, the one that I tried then ended up being the very first iteration of the product we're about to talk about next.
Cool. Look at that. Hey, professional segue.
Yeah, look at that segue. So what we're about to talk about is it's a series of limited single malts called Americanic, right? So I've got the last iteration of that. This one was called Burns Night. And so every single one of these different releases has a different sub name. So you can see up here at the top, there it says Americanic. All that is Scottish Gaelic for the word American. Mm-hmm. That's a Google Translate special. But we realized that nobody could pronounce that. So we shrunk that way down and started emphasizing the different release name. So This one that I'm holding is called Burns Night. It takes its name from Scottish poet Robbie Burns. Every year there's an annual celebration of his life and poetry in January, which is just really an excuse to drink whiskey with friends in January after the holidays. So this one took its name from that. The one that we're trying with y'all is called Optic Promise. Oh, yeah. And the reason, I guess, basis for its name is we took two different types of malted barley, Optic and Golden Promise. And we just thought Optic Promise sounded pretty badass. It's almost sort of like Optimus Prime.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's where we got that name from. But this is cask strength that you're going to be trying. And honestly, we tried it with one of our virtual whiskey tastings about 3 months ago, and it had a ton of bourbon character to me. It almost tasted like Stag Junior. Just a ton of like salted caramel and toffee and baking spices. And particularly at cask strength, those flavors really come through. So I'll let y'all kind of savor it.
Cal was a big fan of Stag. We compare Stag to the Terrell Hatton professional golfer of bourbon.
I'm a great fan. I mean, all Stags are good. So
yeah.
Must have screwed this bottle.
He's like, you don't get off the shelf that often. When you do, it's a crowd pleaser.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like, when he shows up, he shows up.
That's got a good nose too. Yeah.
So this one is, I'm trying to recall. This one's about 113 proof that we're trying.
That's, sorry. Yep, we're 113. You're going to leave it at 113, right?
We are. Yep, we're releasing it October 3rd from the distillery on that day, and then by mid-October, it will be in select bottle shops around the metro Atlanta area. Mm. Now, that said, probably a good opportunity to mention, other than Optic Promise, which actually might end up being on there as well, everything we've talked about is on the Sealbox online platform. That's SEELBACHS.com.
Mm-hmm. I may have interrupted you. So we tagged on Instagram with when we posted you, and we'll be sure to post plenty of these before we release this. Clips, yeah. But there'll be plenty. But you want to run through how do they find you, and for the listeners, and what can they find? Can they find everything? And does it ship to every state? Do you know all the details?
Yeah, so it's sealbox.com, SEELBACHS.com. Actually, I was talking with Blake, the owner over there, and he said he's coming on y'all's show in the not too distant future. So that's kind of cool. Mm-hmm. But anyways, once you get to their site, if you just go to the search bar and you type in ASW Distillery, you'll find all of our products. And everything we are talking about tonight is on their platform, with the exception of the one we're sampling right now, Optic Promise. And that will be on their platform once it's released. So call it mid-October, it'll be on their platform as well. And they're awesome. They ship to about half the states in the union. I can't recall off the top of my head exactly which states, but I think it's pretty simple to find out once you're on their site.
Yeah, I went and took a look. I don't actually order much booze offline or online. I shouldn't say offline, online, or maybe it's offline. But I don't order a lot of booze. I just kind of go around collecting.
But it's a great option.
As you can tell. But it's a great option to order online. And I did look, and they did have some things. So I'm definitely going to check out a few things that they had. I thought it was it looked like it was an easy process. I'm going to go through that. And I mean, good that you're talking. I can't believe Blake said that he and I were talking. I'm going to have to talk to him about that. I'm just kidding, man. I'm just kidding. Yeah, it's all good.
So
I got myself in trouble there.
No.
You're good, man.
We're definitely going to talk about you when we talk with him on the
show. And we're going to talk about which one do you like the best, and we're getting to that.
Yeah,
well, he actually just got a cask strength single barrel of Duality Double Malt.
Oh, he's going to be in for a treat.
Why didn't I get one of those?
He's in for a treat. No, Chet. So, do you guys see that as opening up even more in the coming years in terms of like the number of states you guys can reach through that? And has it grown that much? Because it seems to me like, with the wine side of the business, it used to be kind of like where maybe you guys are now, where it wasn't as many states you could hit in terms of like an e-commerce kind of play, but then that's kind of opened up even more and more. And now it seems like it's happening with your kind of spirit. It's happening more where it's becoming more allowed, and I think that's going to continue. But I mean, COVID may have even helped that. What do you think about that?
For us personally, and some anecdotes that I've read, COVID accelerated innovation in a number of different sort of channels. One of which is e-commerce. So what we probably would have by the end of this year been partnered with an e-commerce platform, but when the pandemic started back in March, I mean, it really accelerated that process. So instead of taking 6 more months to kind of partner and maybe taking it slow to start with, we immediately partnered with Sealbox and hit the ground running. And they've been a great partner to us. Their focus is craft distilleries and craft spirits. So we're right in their wheelhouse, and they have been a very proactive partner of ours.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Hey, you may have to go. I don't know. I don't want to keep you too much longer, but if you can stay for another minute or two.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this Optic Promise.
Yeah.
Not just because it's unreleased. I mean, this is not planned. I mean, other than I picked the stuff up and he's like, hey, you're going to dog me out on the show. And I'm like, we're going to give you a platform to exploit your brand. Exploit's bad. We're going to give you an opportunity to, give your brand, an hour or so to, tell me what you got, or tell the listeners what you've got. And I mean, this shit is, oddly, what's the mash bill on this? And do you know? And if you don't have to tell me, and we can bring that up later.
It's split evenly between Optic Malt and Golden Promise Malt. So it's 100% malted barley and 2 different types of malted barley within that.
I'm getting this crazy still, like what I guess wouldn't Resurgens, but Unison maybe. I'm getting this crazy rye stuff coming in there, man.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, it definitely has
pepper.
Has some like rye spice to it, and then I don't know about y'all, but I was earlier this week I was really getting some like cask strength bourbon characteristics as well.
Oh yeah.
No, I mean but it doesn't. So just like what we were drinking earlier, we were drinking. I'm counting again, but we were on Resurgens. That's 86 proof, and the Resurgence smelled stronger than 86, but this smells weaker than 113, and neither of them. And the Resurgence drank stronger than 86. And this drinks lighter than 113, which it's not a bad thing. I mean, I'm complimenting both. I think it's a good play on, on the way you're blending. So,
yeah. Well, I guess clarification. Yeah, we're what you have right there is not blended at all. That is just straight out of the barrel.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So it's cask strength single barrel, which is when we release it in October, it will not be a single barrel, but it will be cask strength. So yeah, it sips. That's a testament to Justin. He took really tight cuts on this one, so it was just a very clean spirit that went into a barrel. So it drinks very, very smoothly for being 113 proof. But
it's fantastic. Yeah. So if things go well, can we get?
Yeah, I got you signed up.
Bottles of this one.
We'll give you the friends and family.
It seems like he likes everything, Chad.
I can find something to like about everything, but I'm saying, it's when you're going single barrel, it's always single barrel roulette, right? I mean, Mickey Pinstripe said it best, and you never know what you're going to get, and it could be, it will never be bad probably, but it always could be better. And I mean, this is for 113, this is, yeah. I mean, I couldn't argue with this at any point in time.
I know, right?
Even on the first pour.
Yeah,
we are very excited about that one.
Yep.
So that actually is a great point. One of the other releases in that line, that Americanic line, is called Maris Otter, and because each of these is sort of a one-off, once one of them is done, we really don't have it again. But Maris Otter, at this year's San Francisco World Spirits Competition, which is that prestigious awards competition that we talked about earlier, Maris Otter won Best Craft Whiskey in the U.S. So the one that you're trying right now is the next one, and we think it'll probably win Best Craft Whiskey in the U.S. at next year's San Francisco, because its flavor profile is not that dissimilar from Maris Otter.
I don't doubt it, man. You're right. Yeah.
No, I mean, this is once again. I mean, it's ignorance on my part because I don't know what's on the shelf, and I'm kind of going to. When I said earlier that I hadn't tried ASW before, and for no reason other than probably marketing or whatever people are talking about. I didn't go down the road of ASW just for, it's like I just steered clear. And that's why we're doing this, to share with people that, I mean, this is 4 good drinks, man. I mean, you should definitely try them.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Blown away by it, man. I'm from Raleigh. Never heard of you guys before. In terms of, Cal did a great job of connecting, and my goodness gracious, yeah, fantastic stuff. I can see why you're winning the awards, and we're gonna be touting this stuff for sure. Yep.
Thank y'all. Mm-hmm. You wanna talk briefly about the last dram of the night, George Heartwood?
Yeah,
I've already poured it and smelling. I did sample it. So
which one is it? Which one is it?
Heartwood.
Oh, the Heartwood. Yeah, I got that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So last but not least, we got the
for the record, Chad. We left you an out. We did leave you an out, so you stuck around. It's okay.
So this kind of we touched on it earlier. This one is the 45% wheated bourbon, and pretty cool. Our master distiller, he actually lives about a little over an hour north of Atlanta, up in rural Georgia. He's got a farm up there. And back in 2015, he and his dad harvested 3 white oak trees in Jackson County, Georgia. They split up the heartwood from the sapwood and ended up shaving down the heartwood into staves about the size of, I don't know, about yay big. And
1x2s.
Yeah, exactly. So he seasoned that for over a year, and then he hand chars those staves and slots anywhere from 20 to 25 of them down into the barrel for the last few months of aging. And then we bottle it at cask strength, and this is our original single barrel program product. Mm-hmm. So every bottle you'll buy is from a single barrel.
Very cool.
This particular one y'all are trying, did I write the proof on there?
You did. Well, I'll tell you what I do have. I have 58.2, but I don't have a proof. Have a proof. I only got the percent alcohol.
Yeah, so 116.4. So this one won a gold medal at the San Francisco World Spirits Competition. And this one, really, when you talk about...
I'm surprised it didn't win 7.
Yeah, I know, right? When you talk about what has really been getting some of the local bourbon groups excited, Fiddler Georgia Heartwood was the original one that started raising, probably elevating our name within some real bourbon drinkers. And then from there, it was Duality, cask strength, and Resurgens, cask strength. But Fiddler Georgia Heartwood, if you are a bourbon drinker, particularly a wheated bourbon drinker, it really hits.
It doesn't nose anywhere near like a 116.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
This has the weakest. I should. I'm sorry.
No,
hold on. Let me. I recant. This has less of an alcohol nose than anything I've nosed so far today. I mean, I almost get no alcohol on the nose, actually, which is kind of weird. I mean, it's like I put this to my nose and I don't actually get, and it's not because I've been drinking. I mean, my nose is not numb.
I think it is.
I mean, but I'm saying I've got to go deep in the glass to get alcohol out of this thing.
I'm saying it doesn't nose that hot for sure. Yeah.
And I've got to go deep in the glass, and so nose another 116. I could pour you Old Grandad 114, and you could put it close to your nose. And I love Old Grandad 114, and it's and this is 116, and Old Grandad is much hotter. This is an amazing bottle of liquor that you produce. It's amazing.
So, Chad, what kind of age is on this? Do you know?
Yeah, Fiddler Georgia Heartwood is 4 years old.
Okay, cool.
And then in the last 3-4 months have those staves of oak in there. So that is, I tell you what, those impart a ton of oak sort of refinement to it. Those last few months.
Oh yeah, it's great. It's really tasty.
Yeah. I mean, this is. It's better than tasty. I mean, this is fantastic. I mean, this is taste testing up beside stuff that's selling at triple digit numbers on the aftermarket. I mean, because it's wheated.
Yep.
Heavy wheat. And, but I'm getting good stuff out of this thing. I mean, this is, if you're looking for some of you can't find them. I mean, I think this is a hold up. I will say, I mean, just to be honest, I mean, I think on the back end for me, if you, can I be honest or should I not be honest?
Yeah. Be honest, only if it's nice.
No, it's nice. I mean, so I'm saying I'm getting raisins out of this thing, and I'm getting raisins more kind of on the back end than I am on the front end.
Yeah.
And which I don't mind raisins. I mean, it's just almost like if I were drinking it, but it's not overly sweet. I mean, there's so many good things going on. This is, if you're spending $70 or $80 on a bottle of liquor and you haven't tried the Georgia Heartwood, just go buy a bottle of Georgia Heartwood. Don't poison it, and I'll send you the money back, and I'll take the rest of the bottle.
Yeah, go to Sealbox. If you can't get it in Atlanta, go to Sealbox and
go to Sealbox. Yeah, and I'll take the rest of it. Right. I mean, this is good shit, man.
So, Chet, which one is the most popular one out of all the ones?
In terms of best-selling, Fiddler Unison that we started with tonight.
Okay.
And that's sort of a function of it being a bourbon, it being
there's a price point.
It's that price point. Yep, exactly. It's at the price point where you can put it into cocktails or make a drink with it just as much as you can sip it on its own. From there, it's tough to say. I mean, Duality and Resurgens are kind of neck and neck in terms of sales volume. And then Fiddler Georgia Heartwood it would probably be one of our top sellers if it wasn't so limited. We just only have a handful of barrels each year, and that's kind of the program right now.
Cool, yeah, it's great.
So I just did something not weird for me, but maybe weird for everybody else. I just mixed this Optic Promise with the Georgia Heartwood because that not that either didn't have anything to offer, but I'm thinking there's something there.
Before he lets you go, Chad, he's going to make you call this. He's going to make you blend these at the place, at the distillery. You're going to call it the Cal. I'm just kidding.
It's like when you go to the Coca-Cola Museum and you're putting all of them together.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then you accidentally put Beverly in there, and Beverly's really gross. It tastes like crickets. I don't know what they're thinking with Beverly. It's so gross.
I'll tell you what, if you tasted this, it wouldn't be that gross. I did 50-50. I would cut it up a little different then. I mean, well, not 50. I just did a squirt and a squirt, but I mean, that actually turns out kind of decent.
They're all so different and, but very, quality all around for sure. This Heartland was really, really good. Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Hey, Chad, we've had you for way too long. Well, not for my likings or probably our listeners, but you probably got stuff to do. So we don't want to keep you more than you want to stay. And we've definitely been drinking a lot. And it's very good. And I've got a lot more blending and drinking to do.
We're recording this on a Tuesday before the U.S. Open. So we'll say go Dogs, Go Dogs. Cal's got some of your guys' picks in his lineup, right, Cal?
I do, as a matter of fact.
Nice.
So what about, are you a golfer, by the way, Chad?
I am so bad at golf that I have
that you don't golf.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, no, that's fair. But we'd love to get back on the pod with you if that's okay.
Yeah, I'd love to.
It's because you've got another whole 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bottles that we haven't even tasted.
Is that right?
That's right.
Is that right? Wow. Ooh,
I think so. Yeah.
Stuff,
yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I can't believe how much you guys are producing, man. I mean, that's like a shitload of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly.
It's and do you keep everything like just out back?
In terms of like where we're aging it?
Yeah.
Actually, what you saw.
Don't give me the address. Don't give me the address. Just
what you saw the other day is just a small fraction of our aging. Most of our aging is actually done at our second facility in the West End. Actually, not too far from you in Grant Park. That we have another
over on the other side. Other side of the tracks.
Monday Night Brewing.
The garage. Yeah.
So we got over 1,000 barrels there, and then we're actually opening a facility at the Battery right next to the Braves Stadium in about a month and a half.
So I saw that. So I felt a little. I never feel creepy, but I was like, shit. So I pulled up ASW, and it pulled up like 3 things, right? And it was like the Battery was like kind of a maybe, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to the tasting room, and I'll just go to this one. I'll be fine. So I made it to the right one, unlike like Google, on Google Maps or something.
Yep.
So I made it to the right one, but yeah, I mean, I think that this liquor, I don't know. We did a Instagram. I hope I'm not repeating, but we did an Instagram post, and no one that follows us has ever tasted it.
Oh, that's cool.
That's cool. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, it's real good. And aren't you releasing in Southern California in a week or 2?
Yeah. So we'll be. It depends on when we get our license, but that should happen this week, and we'll ship it off immediately at that point. So yeah.
But very soon you're going to be in Southern California. And what label? I know it's going to be ASW, but which is it? Multiples?
Yeah, we'll have everything we've talked about tonight. Will be there.
That's
awesome. Yeah,
that's great, man. That's going to be
good. And what about New York? Are you up there yet?
We are not up there yet, but Sealbox does ship to New York.
Okay, cool.
Sealbox.
Oh, I'm sorry. Never mind. They ship to California and not New York. Apologies. We've been looking at New York. Hopefully we will get there soon.
Better yet, check out sealbox.com and you'll find out where you can get ASW shipped to.
Yeah. Absolutely. Check them out online, and there's a ton of stuff going on, man. At least I can't wait to taste more. What I tasted tonight, I couldn't believe in terms of the quality and the differentiation. But holy cow, tons of stuff going on, you guys. Man, that's really good stuff.
Cal, Dan, this has been awesome. Thanks for having us and for putting together such a cool podcast and social media presence.
You got it.
Hey, if you ever want to come sample anything, let me know.
For sure, brother.
He's there.
And if I could ever come sample anything, let me know.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
Hang on, Chad. Cheers.
Cheers, y'all.